This video is building off of a video we recently made based on James Cameron claiming that big budget visual movies need to be valued more by the Academy. And I personally think that there's a different type of bias in the Oscars, and that bias is political current event themes. Because if you think about a lot of the movies that are getting nominated recently, not all of them, but a good amount of them are very politically resonant. They're a political issue or they are a current issue. So Spotlight's the biggest one. Spotlight is a very political issue where the Catholic Church was involved in the abuse of several children. Very touchy subject. 12 Years a Slave goes into the history of slavery. We actually had multiple movies do that. Moonlight has a lot of disadvantaged communities, a lot of things like that.
If you want to win an Oscar, the one way to do it to win Best Picture is you take a social injustice, you make it a movie, and because, let's face it, and I'm not saying this is wrong, but let's face it, that the Oscars and Hollywood itself is a pretty liberal, left-based party overall, they're going to bring it right to the top and be like, yep, we are warriors of social justice and we support this.
Yeah, I do think they have a tendency to lean into anything about social justice. That's probably the phrase I was looking for, is that they like stories of disadvantaged people coming to the top. And that's even kind of, it's even kind of in Les Mis a little bit. Like you have prisoners struggling for food.
It's not only, though, a story of like someone coming from a disadvantage and rising to the top.
No, it's about a group.
It's not even about that. It's always about stuff that is relevant to the struggles that are happening now.
Right, okay.
Because
that's true.
It's something that allows them to almost, I don't want to say this and sound like an asshole, but it almost seems like them standing on a soapbox,
right,
trying to call out something.
No, I definitely see that. I'm going to say this again. I think Spotlight was a very well done movie. Do I think it was anywhere near The Revenant? Absolutely not. I think The Revenant was better than Spotlight in almost every way, save possibly certain dialogue elements. But everything in The Revenant, cinematography, the way shots were composed, the way it was directed, what it was about, was far better to me. I think the biggest reason Spotlight defeated The Revenant for Best Picture was because of the story it was based on. Not the story, not the written story, but the story it was based on. Because it was edgy, it was about a disadvantaged group, and it was political. And I think that was overvalued and pushed above a better made movie.
Yeah, they'll make their decision based off they don't want to look like the asshole, even though it really doesn't make them the asshole. You're picking the best movie here. Just because this movie might have a relevant topic does not mean not choosing it is now interjecting your ideas of that topic.
Right. And I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to say that Hollywood views itself as more important than it actually is.
Oh yeah, they're the snowflakes
God.
that feel that they are the field marshal of social injustice. And like these actors,
I think really what it is movies are art, okay? And art has always tended to be more valued when it has a political message behind it. I think movies that are ambiguous are superior to movies with a clear message. Does that make sense? A movie with a lot of symbolism that you're not entirely sure what it symbolizes is better than a movie that says, this is wrong, that is wrong, this is what happened. They serve two different purposes, but
because
I think
the best decisions in life are the ones you make yourself.
Thanks, Dad. That's such a PBS fucking Mr. Rogers
Unless
statement.
It's drugs.
No, but you raise...
Just say no.
But you raise a good point that meaning behind something enhances people's preference for it. But if something is ambiguous, then it allows you to project more of yourself into it. So I'm trying to think of a very symbolic recent Academy level movie.
You'd still be projecting meaning onto it.
Yeah, but you're
That's what
projecting
makes it good to
you're
you.
projecting your own meaning. You're not being told by the makers that this is the meaning. And there's value in showing a civil rights struggle, and there's value in showing the horrors of war, and there's value in all of that. And there's values of showing how the press brought down the Catholic Church. But I think if it's symbolic, like rather than making spotlight directly about the Boston Globe taking the Catholic Church down, what if you created a metaphor for that doesn't explicitly show the viewer what you're doing? It allows the viewer to take it in additional directions that mean more to them.
I think you're going to have to really hammer that point home, you're going to have an example.
An example of an ambiguous movie. Well, that kind of leads into a video we're about to make about philosophical movies. I think Fight Club is a good example. Fight Club, that's the one I'm coming up with right now.
Yeah, that'd be a good
Fight
one.
Club has a very clear meaning to it, but no one is exactly sure what that meaning is exactly.
And even at the end, I mean, to some extent, they drill a point home, but not necessarily the point
It's
home.
not clear. It's not a cut and dry movie serving a purpose. It's a movie that says, Project Mayhem, we want to upset society, we want to take the credit card companies down, we want to erase people's debt, but we don't know to what end that is serving, and we don't know what the morals are to it.
And you really just don't know even what's driving it.
Right.
It's just kind of a movie that goes through the transitions, and at the end of it, because there's so much left out, the viewer is left to look inside themselves. And that might be... That's
where I value a movie. I want to watch a movie and figure out what I want it to mean. Not what I want it to mean, but what I think the meaning to it is. Spotlight versus Fight Club. Fight Club kills it for me every time because I can think about Fight Club a new way every time I watch it. Spotlight will always be the same movie. It is a cut and dry, this is what happened, this is bad, this is good, this is what we need to do. Fight Club is ambiguous. You don't know exactly what the philosophy is and the moral ethics of exploding the credit card towers is.
And what's great about that is, like a movie like Spotlight or Moonlight, they're taking a side.
Yeah.
And they want you...
I mean, in those movies, it's a clear side.
Yeah, it is. It is. But that's my point, is they're explaining one side of the story to you, and they want you to follow and support, which, albeit in these topics like Moonlight, I mean, obviously you're going to follow that because you're a fucked up person if you don't.
Right.
But with something like Fight Club, it's causing you to look in yourself and think about it. And I think that movie a movie like that should get more credit, because when you look in yourself, I mean, obviously the movie maker wants you to still follow the right path. But if you are looking in, you have a better understanding of why you're following that path. And you understand what's happening more.
You learn that in psychology. That's a basic of therapy. You ask the client questions that lead the client to their own realizations about their life. You do not tell the client what is right and what is wrong. Because if you lead them there themselves.
You can lead, theoretically, a horse to water, but if it doesn't understand why it's going, it can decide to stop following.
True. So what do you guys think? Is there value in these politically based movies? Or is there more value in ambiguous movies? And then you just have The Revenant, which is just a story that's cool. I mean, The Revenant doesn't really even have a message. It's just, here's a guy who got ripped by a bear.
Raped by a bear.
There is. I don't.
It could have a message.